All right, we'll see if this one is what's working now. I'm sorry to everyone for the last stream. We'll wait to see if anyone is able to find it. Hello, can you hear me, Nima? I hope everyone can hear me now. I hope this works. Hooray! Hooray! Woo! Yes, okay, I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm so sorry that the last stream didn't work. I have literally no idea what the issue. Oh, my friend Ed Pipero. Oh man, I do this all the time with him. Oh, I say I do that. I can hear you. Can you hear me? And he normally hates it. So the fact that he quoted it, oh, that is funny. Oh, that is funny, Nathan. If you had any questions that I didn't get to in the last one, just put it in here. I'm so sorry I didn't get the last one, but let's see if this this one works. Blueberry says, it was kind of funny, to be honest. Even without the audio, one can still feel how much you love books. It's like it radiates off energy, me with my books. I just like, I'm excited about them. So yes, snake. I don't know what that's a reference to. Booyah, we are back. Hello, everyone. All right, so I was talking earlier, I was answering the one about bookstores. I don't do mystery books stuff too often. However, when I go to a bookstore, I know exactly what I'm buying, and I try not to just buy too much. So I'm usually trying to be focused with my buying. But then again, I'm at the bookstore once or twice a week because I'm that obsessed. So sometimes, sometimes I overindulge a little bit. Unlikely Alex says, it cut off when you're talking about Game of Thrones. Yes. I forgot what I was talking about. Was I talking about the show? I'm really excited for it. The world. I really like the universe and the world and the general tone that Game of Thrones really has. So I'm really interested in seeing how that translates with House of the Dragon. So that's generally what I was referring to. Snake is a Metal Gear Solid reference. I'm so sorry. I didn't get that. I'm trying. Josiah Peterson says, "Yo, audio is back." Joe Williams says, "Impossible to overindulge with books." Yes, I agree. While I have everyone, I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek on something that I haven't announced yet and probably won't get to for weeks later. But I have my TBR for the month of September decided. So I will go very quickly over this. I have The Oracle Year by Charles Soule. I loved Light of the Jedi, and I found this one, so I'm excited for this. And apparently it became one of those Book of the Month books, and I already started like peeking through it, and I was like, ooh, this book intrigues me. So yeah, this is my first book. The next two are together. It's the books 3 and 4 in the Typhon Pact book series. Book 1 I read, and I have the review coming up in a few weeks. And book 2 is on my list for this upcoming week. So I have book 3, and book 4 set for next month. I also have Catching Fire. I was talking on the other stream. I just listened to the audiobook and also read simultaneously The Hunger Games, and I loved it. And my video review will come out soon. So I will be discussing this when I read it. And Catching Fire was a really good movie, so I'm interested in the book. I also have John Grisham's next A Time to book, A Time for Mercy. I loved A Time to Kill and Sycamore Road, both of which were on the channel. I put reviews of them, both of them stellar books, some of the best books I read this year. So he has a high bar to hit for himself. Can he get 3 out of 3 on the series? I also have the final book in the saga of Seven Sons. This is I'm quite interested that this is a book series that my reviews have been doing pretty solid on them. Not amazing, but pretty solid. And I thought they would taper off a lot. But I have book 6 that I'm reading in a few weeks, and then book 7 I'll read towards the end of September, and then I'll be done with the series because it's so good. And then there's also a Star Trek book called Second Self. Don't have a copy of it yet, but it comes out in September, and so I'll be reading that. And then Prophecy, which is the second book in the Rhapsody series. The Symphony of Ages is what I think it's called. and that review will be coming out, and that is, I think, one of the most controversial books I've ever read. And so I have a very interesting video coming out. That video, if any video is going to get me in trouble for anything, it's my Rhapsody video. That's probably what's going to haunt me because I had interesting thoughts on Rhapsody. So that is my TBR for the month of September. If you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts on them. But why don't I go on to your comments again? Unlikely Ally says, how much of your enthusiastic books waving was about my Les Miserables classics question? I'm so sorry. Yes, Les Miserables. I intend to read it eventually, but unfortunately, I actually have a copy of it right here, but it is daunting, and also it is like something I would want to take a lot of time. I might do it around like Christmas time, maybe, but then again, I have a billion other books to read, so there's no guarantee, but maybe. And then I don't know if you heard, but I've mentioned two classics that I like. Silas Marner is my favorite classic, and I also really like the O. Henry short stories. But I have other classics on my bookshelf. I just haven't gotten to them. My roommate from a couple of years ago, he recommended Crime and Punishment, and so I have the book, but I really want to read it. But if anything he says is true, then I think it might become my favorite classic. And a few other people have read it too. Blueberry Comics, what is your favorite non-book film related YouTuber? Can I say that? Would that get me in trouble? I can't say that. That would get me in trouble with a lot of people if I said who my favorite non-film or booktuber, because those are the ones I can talk about, because there are some interesting political channels that I like to follow. So I won't answer that one directly. Trying to think how here's what I can say. One of my friends has just a goofy, weird channel that's all over the place, called Unprofessional. It's like Unprofessional, but with fish. That one, I really like that channel. It is just weird videos, but he's really funny. He makes me laugh. So that one I would say. Let's see the next one. Raffinetti says, I know you enjoy fiction a lot. Are there other categories of book you enjoy, aka biographies, philosophy, and so on? I do enjoy them. I just don't talk about them as much. I read a lot of political books by politicians or people in the political arena talking about a political issue. I also read a lot of biographies. I also read philosophy books. Some of my favorite books, I guess I can talk about this one, is The 48 Laws of Power. Loved this book. The Prince by Machiavelli, one of my favorite books. I reread that a lot because it's short and it's so much fun to read. Oh, I enjoy that one so much. So I read those books. I try not to discuss anything political or getting into my religion or anything like that, because I do not want to like alienate people from the channel. I want this to be a more all-inclusive channel. So I want to talk about just fiction because it's less controversial in that sense. But sometimes it seeps in. You can probably figure out some of that stuff if you tried. Let's talk about the next book. Blueberry Comics says, do you recommend the saga as a beginner for space opera? Maybe. I would say anything Timothy Zahn is probably an easier sci-fi space opera stuff. But if you're okay with plot-heavy books and not character-heavy books, then the Saga of the Seven Sons will be amazing for you. But if you're like, you want deep character introspection, then you probably won't enjoy it, because this is plot. Characters are mostly there to make sure the plot happens. So that's how I view it. But I love the plot. I like both types of books, but I enjoy the Kevin Anderson's writing style. So next comment, Mass Studios, what did you think about the Old Republic Revan? Because I recently picked it up and don't know what other people think. The first half of the book is solid, amazing. Second half of the book, don't know what he was going for there. It was very weird. It was a bit odd. Yeah, that one was a bit weird. The ending I didn't love, but the first half of the book was really, really good. So that's my views on that. Next one, Josiah Peterson. Finally started reading Tolkien the other day and finishing the Cosmere. Started with The Hobbit, and it's all right so far. His writing style is definitely different. The Hobbit is it has a similar writing style, but it also has a very different tone than The Lord of the Rings. I enjoy the way The Lord of the Rings flows a bit better than The Hobbit. but The Hobbit's an easier read, if that makes sense. So that's how I view that. Although his best book to me is still and always will be Baron and Luthien. Boy, do I love this book. Oh, it was so entertaining. Someone was talking about epics earlier, like the Epic of Gilgamesh or Beowulf or stuff that has like long poetry. This one has long poetry and it's several hundred pages, and it rhymes. It's awesome. So that's that one. Next comment is from Lazyfish. I am reading it and enjoying it, Mass Studios. Good. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Nima says, if you follow Mr. Beat on YouTube, I live in the same city as him. I've watched his stuff. I've watched some of Mr. Beat's stuff. He's made some good stuff. Raffinetti says, how many languages do you speak? I would say one, but if you ask my language teacher in high school, they would probably say 0. I speak English and I am working on German. I'm working on it so slowly. I am so jealous of my roommate, or my former roommate, I should say, because he learns languages so fast. Like he learned like 2 languages in the time it took me to barely learn German, and I barely learned it, scratch the surface. So that's what I'm working on. Yeah. The next comment says, everyone should read 48 Laws of Power. It's just so good. It teaches you about strategy and politics and styles for how to get things done. It's just such an entertaining book. I'm glad you like it, Nanga. Blueberry Palma says, I'm in the middle of the Wheel of Time, so the scope isn't really a problem. And yes, I'm definitely a plot-driven reader. Then you should really enjoy it. All of Kevin J. Anderson's books are plot-driven, so you should really enjoy it. I hope you do. Unlikely Ally says, LOL, first the Emperor, now Machiavelli. I am learning new layers to you. I like the prince who was so fascinated by the Machiavelli, but not in a way in which I idolize him per se. You are not the first person to say something like that to me. My brother is always hounding me for my love of the Emperor and that type of thing. Yeah, 48 Laws of Power, Machiavelli, the Emperor. I like long cons. Like one of my favorite characters in Harry Potter is Professor. Darn it, I'm forgetting it. It's the guy they bring in book 6, who's all about collecting people and making a good network. I can't remember his name. Professor. I'm forgetting at the moment, but that's who I loved. I love that character. So yes, Unlikely Ally, you're learning a lot about me. I promise I'm not that conniving in real life. I just like reading about conniving stuff and thinking about it. I just don't do it. All right, let's see. Slughorn, thank you, Galaxy. Good to see you. Thank you, Slughorn. That was a good answer there. Yes, Slughorn's the character. I love him, but I don't think anyone else really likes him that much. Spider says, if you were giving a spoiler-free recommendation on a book, how would you do that? Game of Thrones, I would describe it: a group of people rotating while playing a game of chess. Entertaining for some, but not all. That's like a way of, it's not just spoiler-free. That's like way spoiler. That is like vague. I think you can still give general, like, for instance, if let's say a famous book has a character murdered at the beginning of the book, and the whole book is about that character's murder and finding out who the murderer was. I think you can talk about, like, if it's like in the first chapter, it's okay to use that in the spoiler-free discussion. But if a character dies like 20% in or later in the book, yeah, maybe keep that kind of a spoiler. If you're part of a series and you don't want people to know that certain characters survived, maybe you can keep certain things vague and other things. But there's a balance between being super spoiler free and super spoiler heavy. And there's a balance between the two. Like, for instance, I'm willing to read people's reviews. I'm willing to read blurbs and the summary on the back of the book. I know some people, they want to go into books totally blind. I'm like, I don't want to like know, oh my goodness, so-and-so framed Roger Rabbit. But I still want to know, oh, this is a book about XYZ. This is a book about the political feud between the Starks and the Lannisters and the House Targaryen somewhere in there. So that's how I view it. Joe Williams says, Jonathan, do you know the 3 Body Problem series? Been recommended as a gift from my partner's father, who is a sci-fi fan. I have the book on the shelf that I can't reach right now, so I can't go get it. But I have the book, and I intend to read it one day. I just haven't yet. So I will get there eventually. Blueberry Comics says, German is awesome. I went to a German school. Wunderbar. Unlikely Alex says, LOL, I like Slughorn a lot. Raffinetti says, I listened to a YouTube video titled The Philosophy of the Sith, an examination of the dark side, and it makes parallels between the Sith and Nietzsche. Really interesting. Ha! Ha! That is I automatically know exactly what they're talking about there. Yeah, that's a good point. The Sith are kind of like Nietzsche in some ways. I'm more, when it comes to like philosophy, I'm more interested in Kierkegaard or Adam Smith, but that's interesting. That's interesting. Next comment is from Nima says, have you watched any of Star Wars Resistance? The first couple of episodes are physically painful to watch, but it gets pretty good. I watched the first season. And then I heard about what happened with the second season, where it was supposed to go, where it had to go, why they cut it short. And also, I just wasn't having fun with it. And I was like, you know what? I can cut off somewhere in my Star Wars watching. I can cut something out, and it was Resistance. But I know some people really loved it, so that's good that you liked it. Blu-ray Comics says, ooh, that's a trilogy I want to read so bad. Unlikely Ally says, Slughorn is one of the few good Slytherins. Ambitious and semi-self-serving, but not evil or sadistic or cruel. Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. You could put Slytherin, everyone's like, okay, he's a bad guy. Okay, he's a troublemaker. That'd be that. Sorry that we have to leave Blueberry Comics. It's been very entertaining. I will stay for a few more minutes, probably about another 10 or 15, and then I will head out. But if you have any more comments, quickly throw them in. Let me think on a few other things I can fill you in on. I finally found my copy of Watership Down the other day, and I've been looking for this for years. So I was like, hey, I found it. So I want to read this, but I have so many other books to read. But I read this like 10 years ago and loved it. But I see another comment from the Orcom Spider says, what do you think of people dog-earing books? I very rarely will dog ear a book. I don't do it just because it flows. Because like if I want to have a book and I want it to be flat, it's nice and flat. But if you dog ear a page, which I'll do as an example, it kind of throws off. See how it kind of throws off the look of the book. So I don't do it too often. I have dog-eared books that I've literally made notes in because I've done podcasts and deep discussions, or just a book. It's like Kenobi. I've read that book like 6 times. So it's already a messed up copy. And I dog-ear it because I make notes in there. But other stuff I don't really do that much. The next comment is from Raffinetti. Is it your habit to read fan fictions online? Well, first of all, I just rarely read anything online. But second of all, I just don't love fan fiction stuff because I'm just like, because there's so much original content that's actually published that's like professionally done that I just don't have time. But I get that a lot of people do fan fictions. I have a friend who writes fan fiction for Dragon Ball Z, which is a thing I've not even gotten into regular Dragon Ball Z, so I can't even get into fan fiction for that. But I know a lot of people are into it, and if you are, it's great. But I have enough like traditionally published novels to get into. Next comment is from Josiah Peterson. Favorite Sanderson novella? I haven't read too many of his novellas. I loved Emperor's Soul, but I have Dawn Shard and I have Edge Dancer on my shelf behind me, so I will read those eventually. Definitely before Stormlight 5 comes out, but I have a lot of time before then, so I'll be safe. Unlikely Ally says, I recently read Mike Chen's Light Years from Home. Pretty good. I'd give it an 8 out of 10, whereas I gave Brotherhood a 10 out of 10. Well, that's good. I am glad. Unlikely Ally brought up something interesting. I am glad that people are finding authors non-tie-in fiction work, because here's what happens. There are some authors that sell millions of copies. They're really successful. The Brandon Sandersons in the world. They don't, or the Stephen Kings. They don't do tie-in fiction because they're doing just fine with their other stuff. They're doing just fine. Then you have people who sell really well, and then they're also doing media tie-in fiction, and then there's people who don't really sell well, and then they write a media tie-in fiction book, and that book sells well, but it doesn't always boost their other books. And I love media tie-in fiction, and I will always keep reading it, but I want to read people's non-Star Wars or non-Star Trek books, so I'm trying to read as as much of their non. For instance, I recently met Delilah Dawson. I made a video that was really brief about me meeting her, and I specifically bought a lot of her non-Star Wars books to show her my support, so that A, more money could go to her, but B, so she'd know that I'm not just a fan of Star Wars, I'm a fan of her writing style. And so I try to do that as much as I can, get into other authors. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes I don't like them. So I'm glad that you read Years Away from Home and really enjoyed it. The next comment is, if you play video games, what would be your top 3 favorite franchises? I don't really play video games. I play Minecraft. I like Lego Star Wars, which I haven't played in years. Yeah, that's about all I've really played. I'm sorry. I read a book for Halo and really liked it. And I also, when I met Michael Stackpole, I got a Gears of War book, so I intend to read it. I know nothing about Gears of War, but it's Michael Stackpole, so I'll read it. So, yeah, I'm not a big gamer. I'm sorry. I like reading Minecraft. I like reading game novels. I just don't play the games. So, hey, Raffinity, it's fine. It's like adjacent, but I'm willing to answer things, but I just want to be careful though, because I'm really trying to push books here. Spider says, which protagonist would you have dinner with? Also hope that you're having a nice day. Well, thank you. Let me think about a protagonist I would like to have dinner with. So that's like, so I can't just say like my favorite protagonist because I already know a lot about them. I would love to have dinner. This is, again, I'm going to get in so much trouble for saying this. I would love to have dinner with some of the Game of Thrones characters, specifically Varys. Littlefinger, is he a villain? He's kind of villainous, but Varys, I would say, is a protagonist. I like him, and I think I could learn a lot from his tactics, and I'd be interested in the way he thinks about things. But Varys is probably someone I'd like to. I'm really trying to think. I think Julian Bashir, boy, in Star Trek, he was put through the ringer. I think he'd be interesting to have a conversation over dinner with. I'd love to talk with Ciri and Sosebrin from Warbreaker. I'd also love to have a conversation with Raoden. And Galadon. Ooh, Galadon would be fun. And Hoyd from Stormlight Archive. Boy, I have so many of these. I can't get to all of them. But yeah, I have some of those. I hope that answers the question. Jose says, what books are you currently reading right now? In the middle of the Dragonbone share, and I really want to have it done before next week because Princess and the Scoundrel comes out, and I want to finish this book on Monday and pick up Princess and the Scoundrel on Tuesday and start it then. So hopefully that happens, but it might not happen. I'm also listening to the Warbreaker audiobook. Lazyfish says, favorite underrated Star Wars character from a book? Probably, let me think really quick. Ray Sloan. Ray Sloan is amazing. Some people like her, but I really liked her in A New Dawn and in the Aftermath trilogy. She was really great in those books. I also... Eli Vanto's pretty rated. People like him. So, yeah, I'd have to say, Ray Sloan is my answer. Lazy Nanga says, have you read the Halo novels? And I've read one. I read Halo New Blood, which is essentially a novella, but they call it a novel. And I have 2 more on my shelf that will be read eventually, but I don't have them yet. In your opinion, yeah, I just read that one. Sorry. Mass Studios said, do you have a good place to get books cheaper? Because I normally can't find what I'm looking for sometimes. So I have some used bookstores in my area. They're not amazing, but they're fine. A bookstore called Second and Charles is great. And then we also have one called Judy Bug's bookstore. That one, they rarely update it, but it's a nice little, it's one guy that runs the whole bookstore. And Second and Charles, they update pretty often. They don't have a great, the people who buy their books are not serious sci-fi fantasy readers. They're like serious contemporary fiction or historical fiction readers. So they're not getting, or political thriller. So they're not getting the genres as much. But yeah. Also, I would say, let me think of it real quick. I would say that the website ABE Books is generally a great place to find books, but you won't always get them in the best condition from there. But it's a good place because it's a bunch of used bookstores that use like a funnel for it. So the next one is Mass Studios. Do you have a good place to get? Oh, I just read that one. I'm sorry. Lazy Fishy, I didn't see you posted the question. Haha. Josiah Pearson says, nice to finally catch a live stream. I'm going to head out. Have a nice one. Thank you, Josiah. And actually, that's a good point. I think it's time. I'm going to leave before I get myself in trouble because I nearly got myself in trouble earlier. So, really quickly, I'll read this one. Tyler says, so excited for Shadow of the Sith. Have to finish Dance with Dragons first. Ooh, interesting ending on that one. Didn't love it. But Nima and everyone else, thank you for showing up. This was lots of fun. Sorry that the first stream didn't work. I'm going to try to find a way to edit the two together. I'm not sure if that's going to be possible, but we'll see. So everyone, thank you for coming, and I'll have another live stream in a couple more weeks, but I have a lot of great videos planned. I will reveal what those videos are for this week on Sunday in a community post. So bye, everyone.